In this episode, we're uncovering why you're not attracting perfect fit four-figure budget clients.
Welcome to another episode of JFDI with the Two Lauras, the podcast where we share tips, advice and go down the occasional rabbit hole in our quest to help freelance social media managers to build a business they love. We're really focused on helping you get paid better for the awesome job you do. And we know for a fact that social media management is a four-figure service and people are getting paid that. But we hear it all the time. The leads I get won't pay four figures. So on the show today, we're diving into how you can start attracting perfect fit clients who do have four-figure budgets. And some of the tips we're sharing today are so obvious that you're going to roll your eyes at not having thought about them before. So let's dive in.
Love that. Get ready to roll your eyes. Okay, let's start then with why social media management actually is a service that people should charge four figures for. Because I think some people are like, well, hang on, it's not worth that. And, you know, you're going to get that about every job out there, every business, every product. But why is it a four-figure service?
Because it's not an easy job. It's not just a whacking posts on social media, which I think lots of people think it is. It's actually a very complex job in an industry that is 24/7. There's no sign off. It's ever changing. It's like I could go on.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like if you think about it, if you train to be a lawyer, how often does the law actually get changed? Not very often. Don't really have to stay on your game all that much. Same if you're like an accountant. You know, yeah, tax things change, but you know, it's not like this job, is it?
When things change, there's normally like a bit of a build up to that. It has to be passed through courts and you know through Parliament and all this shit. Whereas we just
have to wait for the new tax year.
Yeah, we just get old Mozart jumping on Instagram telling us that everything's changed.
It's changed 2 hours ago. Yeah, now you're going to just crack on and use it. Yeah,
and normally changed with nothing that anyone wanted.
Yeah, totally.
But that's not, that's not just why. But I think the difference is, the problem is the businesses who don't understand, maybe because they've never seen success because they've never properly used a strategic social media marketer. So therefore they think, well, that's not worth it. But the people who see the value in it are the people who understand marketing or kind of understand marketing,
or don't understand marketing but understand the value it places on their business.
That's what I mean. They can see the results of it, and they understand that it's worth doing. You know, the amount of times I speak to my clients and they clearly don't understand a lot of what I'm spitting out, but I do try to explain it. But they understand that at the end of the day they are getting leads, they are getting positive comments, they are, it's so they know it's working, and I guess they trust the process.
Yeah, they understand the role it plays in their business.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of naivety, I think, around social media and a lot of distrust about it, which makes our jobs even harder, which is why we need to charge more.
Yeah. But there are businesses out there who, like your client, who fully understand the importance that it plays in their business. And I think that's just going to get more and more like common as time goes by. I reckon even by the end of next year, people will have a very different view than they already do have now. And, the stats kind of back it up, don't they? Because people are using social media much more now and much differently than they did before. So before we did this podcast, we went and did some research and got some stats for you because we know how much Laura loves a stat.
I do
so we thought you might like a stat too. And obviously feel free to put these in your content. So according to Sprinkler, approximately 75% of internet users use social media to research products, which I think is astounding. 75%, that is high. Like that was never that high a few years ago. That is massive. And that's big to business.
I know that's like I fall into that 75. I've researched everything now. Everything.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like not, something, but most things.
I don't even want to know what you're not researching. We'll move on.
Well, I was going to say like buying something like milk. I wasn't going to say anything dodgy.
Yeah, I don't really do any research about the milk I buy. I just buy it.
Although I bet people do though, because there's lots of controversy about milk. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's my point being like everything now, especially higher consideration products.
Yeah.
I would definitely go and do a bit of research. on social media.
Yeah, and if it's something that I feel like I want, but I don't know how it works. So like my husband, he's already got a Remarkable. For some reason, he wants a new one. And he's been watching the videos on Instagram. He doesn't even use Instagram, but he's been watching the videos on Instagram to find out how it works. So, it plays a massive part in that kind of research and decision making.
Well, when I was buying my car, I was looking at content creators. So not just the marketing from the brand, the car brand, because that's obviously...
skewed one way, isn't it?
Yeah. I was looking for like content creators and people on social media who had that car and were talking about it. And I use that. And sometimes I do think, God, I need to look outside of social media now. It's become so much part of what I do because, you could argue everything is kind of slightly polarized, but yeah, it's like, it's not just, I want to buy a jumper. I'm going to go and search red jumpers on Instagram and see what comes up. These are big, high value services and products that we now look at. So that doesn't surprise me, although, it is bloody high, 75%. Yeah. That's billions of people.
And 54% of people who use social media to research products ultimately make a purchase. That stat is from Global Web Index. But 54% of all those, like more than half of people who are searching on social to find a product end up buying it. That's massive.
Mm.
Like you did end up buying that car you were just talking about, didn't you?
Yeah.
It does play a big role, which I think is why businesses and especially if businesses are like taking an interest and actually like understanding these statistics and seeing them more and more, then they will start to get it. And because a lot of people obviously are still stuck in that mindset of, oh, we've got to put something in the paper or let's put something in a magazine, and all of that stuff. But that's because historically they would have seen the data around those because people would have been talking about them. And their mindset will change because of this data.
And interestingly, it's like what I just said before about when I was looking for the car, I wasn't kind of looking just at the brand's content because it was very like
polished.
Over polished. Whereas obviously they needed a good social media marketer to come in and make sure that they are putting content which is like UGC and more relatable, more realistic.
So you can see if they've actually got a cup holder. Can you actually put your mobile phone anywhere? Things like that really annoy me in cars.
And they're the ones, these are brands that will pay 4 figures.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, multiple 4 figures, probably. Yeah, love that. Right, my final stat of the day is, and this is one that if the person who was having an argument with me on Threads recently about return on investment is listening to this podcast, they're going to love this stat, I'm sure. So this stat says that, and this is from HubSpot, 63% of marketers identify social media as delivering the highest ROI among marketing channels, surpassing all traditional methods. So just let that sink in a bit. The social media marketing has the highest ROI of all marketing. So don't come at me telling me you can't prove a return on investment from social media marketing when the stats show differently. You totally can. And businesses want to see that.
I so wish I had that stat when I was having a drunken argument at the weekend about social media. And
I'll just send him this podcast.
And TV. No, maybe not. Anyway, that is interesting. And that means we are highly needed, skilled and valued people that totally warrants a 4-figure pay.
And like earlier on, you were talking about how some businesses don't get it and they won't see that value. But there are many, many more who will. There are many, many more who do see social media marketing as really important to their business and who do put a 4-figure value on it, sometimes even more than that, and will pay for it because they understand the impact it will have on their business because they know all of this stats. They do the research in their business. They do the tracking. They track where their sales come from.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of businesses you want, the businesses who know how things work, the businesses who are already getting sales, right?
Yeah.
So, just think about that. It's the reason that you potentially are not, and we're going to come on to lots of reasons, but one of the reasons you're probably not getting those 4-figure leads you want is because the people who you're speaking to don't understand this, don't understand the value of it. But there's another big reason why social media management is a 4-figure service when you're a freelancer, and it's because you're a freelancer. You went freelance because you wanted to be freelance and you wanted to have freedom in your business, right? So you wanted to have your time back. And when you're working with lots and lots of low paying clients for low figures, you don't have much time. So the best way to get your time back is to charge more and have fewer clients.
Yeah. And it's still more cost effective for businesses to hire a freelancer than have the additional costs of having an employed person.
Yeah.
So just remember that.
Definitely. Okay, so let's move on then. Let's talk about the reasons why people are not getting those 4-figure leads that they really want. Because in 2025, can we just all make a pact that we're all going to, really value the service we're offering and actually put decent prices on it? None of this £250 a month lark, but 4 figures all the way. So let's talk about how you can get those leads and why you're not getting those leads. First one, Laura, you go. This is going to be an eye roller. Just to warn you, you're probably going to roll your eyes now.
You've got a low price on your website. And I cannot stress enough. If you put your monthly fee of £250 or £300 or whatever low ball amount it is, there's going to be a few different responses to that. There's either going to be a business who comes to your page who would have been prepared to have paid £1,200, for example, but lands on your website and goes, oh, wow, they charge £300. So of course I'm going to tell them that my budget is only £300, because no business owner, especially successful business owners, they're savvy with their, decision making, is going to put £1,200 once they've seen that.
Yeah.
But also people could see that and think, God, that's cheap. £300 a month.
Buy cheap, buy twice.
Buy cheap, buy twice. Oh, that's going to be rubbish. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And I do this all the time. When I buy things, I'm forever thinking, if I'm comparing a few products or services and I see something really cheap, I think there's got to be something wrong with that. Just yesterday, I was buying a charger cable on Amazon. I wouldn't choose the cheapest because I just thought I'd be shit.
Yeah.
Why waste my money? I spent a couple of quid more instead. And I do that all the time. It's like I went to a restaurant at the weekend. I didn't buy the cheapest bottle of wine because I thought it's going to be really shit. I don't want to waste all that money on a shit bottle of wine. So I don't get me wrong, I didn't buy the most expensive, far from it. But I definitely didn't buy the cheapest, because that mentality of people, especially if they're time poor, they're like, I don't want to make the wrong decision here. I don't want to think this person's going to be crap and then you're going to be back in the same position in 3 months' time having to find somebody new.
Yeah. And most people don't want the cheapest thing they can afford. They want the best that they can afford.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult because we always say to you, don't put your packages on your website, put your starting from price. And you might say, yeah, but my starting from price might be to work on a small account, posting once a week, and I would be happy to charge 500 quid for that. But that's not the kind of clients you want. You don't want loads of those kind of clients. You want 1 or 2 really great clients. And so instead of doing that, what is your starting from price from your perfect fit client? From that perfect client that you want to work with? What is their starting price?
Because you could also, there's probably a mindset that people see a low price thinking, the cost of living is high, right? Everybody knows people have got rent to pay, mortgages to pay, food shopping's expensive, life can be really expensive. So you look at someone who's only charging £200 or £300 a month and you think, shit, they are going to have a lot of clients to surely make this worthwhile. So does that mean they're going to be stretched? They're not going to be properly on the ball. They're going to be too busy. They're going to be burning out. What is that saying? You want to be saying to people, I work with 2 or 3 high-paying clients and I dedicate so much time to you. Not like I'm, being dragged from Peter to Paul to sort out, don't know who Peter and Paul are, but,
they're low-paying clients. You don't want to know them.
Yeah. So just think about what that is saying. Is it screaming, I am the best?
Exclusive.
Yeah, I am premium service. I am, great value for your business in terms of delivery. Or are you saying, I'm buy cheap, buy twice?
Yeah.
And which do you want to be known as? I don't want to be buy cheap, buy twice.
No. And I know that there will be people listening to this podcast who are like, oh, I don't know what price it says on my website. I set it up 5 years ago and I've never gone and checked it again. Go and check it today. Go and see what it says on your website as your starting price. And for goodness sake, change it. That's the quickest thing you can do. to start getting those different types of, higher budget clients. Okay, give me another one.
Your messaging is wrong. You're
Yes.
trying to talk to everybody. You think you can sweep up any business owner in the whole wide world because all your content resonates with all of them. Well, I'm here to tell you, you are wrong. You cannot speak to every business owner all the time.
No.
You just can't do it. So your messaging is it's not putting people off because they're not finding you. They're not seeing you.
Yeah. And there's another problem with that. Like if you are speaking to everyone in your content and it does happen to bring you in a lead, what happens is that you look like every single other social media manager out there. There's nothing setting you apart because you're saying the same things as everyone else. So then when they get your proposal, even if they thought you were really nice, if somebody else is cheaper, the only thing they've got to compare you with the other person is the price. Because you are not a specialist in, or you haven't positioned yourself as a specialist in their niche, in their problem, in the platform you want to work in the area that they're in the result they want. You haven't set yourself apart so that they can go, okay, I could have any Tom, Dick or Harry social media manager for £500 a month.
Not Peter and Paul.
Not Peter and Paul, no, they're clients. Or I could pay Barbara, I don't know why we're picking some really random names on this podcast, or I could pay Barbara £1,000 and she really gets me. She understands my business already. She knows what my audience are like. She knows this platform inside out. I know that she can get me some really great, results because I've seen the case studies from other businesses who are just like me on her content.
Yeah.
It's not just about your engagement and reaching the right people, is it, with your message? It's about actually making yourself stand out from all of the other people.
Yeah. And so many industries do this. I don't know why social media marketers more social media marketers aren't doing it, because a lot of people are now doing it, but not enough.
Yeah.
You got to only just think of, so there's some content I saw the other day from a local hairdresser, and it was all about how she works with like blending grey hairs.
Oh yeah.
So straight away, I was
you were loving it.
I was like, oh, that means she knows me. Like that's she can help me because she's been very specific. Whereas the person who just says like, oh look, I've dyed this person's hair pink, like, although that may resonate with some people, but
just somebody who's talking about cut and colour.
Yeah. So she's very specific in that type of content she puts out because she wants to appeal to that demographic. And it just made me think, okay, well, I could pick any hairdresser in the world. Well, not world, like my town maybe. But I need to know that I'm picking the right one. And their content is going to speak to me. And I'm sure there's plenty. I can't think of any other examples. But
on that example, going back to like the price, it's not just that her content resonates with you and you might go and see her because you think that she's going to do a good job. If she was 20 quid more, 50 quid more, even 100 quid more than another hairdresser, you would trust her more to give you what you want. So you would pay for it.
Yeah, I would know that she was going to be the solution to my problem.
Yes. And you're not going to come out with really dodgy barnet.
I've not actually got a lot of grey hairs. I'll just say that for
all
now,
right,
just for the record.
Give me a number later.
It's a bit of a trek for you.
One of the things that I did just say just a minute ago, which is another reason that you're not getting these 4-figure leads, is that you're not using case study content in your marketing anywhere. Maybe they're not on your website. Maybe you're not, if you're sending out emails, you're not using them in emails. They're not on your socials. So people can't see like real stories of who you've helped who are just like them. And often when we're talking about like results-based, social proof, testimonials, all of that stuff, people are sharing all of that social proof and, they're doing that quite well, but there's a way that you can do it differently to position yourself to people simply by calling out the kind of business that they were so that somebody can go, oh, this person got brilliant results for this jewelry business. I've got a jewelry business, so therefore they're for me, right? So you can do it like that. You could call out the problem that they were having beforehand. So then somebody who's having the same problem will be like, oh, that's the problem I had. So therefore this person's for me. Whereas most people, when they share case studies, they're just like, oh, I managed to make this person go viral. and there's no context. And people need the context in the case study.
Context is key.
Yeah, for it to mean something to them and for them to then say, okay, yeah, I can see why this person's worth 4 figures because they've done this amazing job for this other person who's just like me and I want that too. It's like when you're sharing testimonials, quite often people will share a testimonial that will just say, Laura did a really great job for our business, right? But if they just tweaked that slightly, Laura did a really great job for my jewellery business, already that speaks to a different person. But if you said, how? Laura did a really great job at getting us more traffic on our website and we managed to sell more jewellery because of the content she was putting out, immediately that tells a totally different story. So you just have to think about the story you're telling with that case study content and that social proof and those testimonials and comments that you're sharing so that it really speaks to people and helps you to get more leads.
And I think it's also, on that note, it's also about, like, I'm all for showing the human behind the business and the behind the scenes, and I do think that's important, but we do just have to be mindful of what those messages are actually, how they're being interpreted by our audience. If you want to come across as like a premium service and you've just got to think about how everything you're saying is positioning yourself. And I can't think of an example of anything behind the scenes that would make someone look. But for example, if you're saying all the time, oh, I'm taking the summer off, or I'm taking off every school holidays, or I'm only working between 10 and 2 every day. These are fine. I am all for all of those things, but we don't have to always share them, or there's a way in which we share them, because people will interpret that as to how that is going to benefit them. And often you're just sharing how it's going to benefit you, and no one gives a shit, quite frankly. And it's about saying what your audience or your potential future clients want to hear, not what you want to say. And I'm all for celebrating how brilliant a freelance life can be, but it doesn't.
But know your audience.
Yeah. It's come and tell us in the Inner Hub. Come and tell us in our communities.
Classic one. After any summer holiday, any Christmas break, people will be back, social media managers. Oh, it was so good having a break off social. I really enjoyed my digital detox. You work in social media, telling people that you enjoyed not being on it or that you hate working on social media is not a good look.
And that's not to say you have to lie and go, oh my God, I've missed it. I'm so excited. Like, well, no one's telling you to lie. Just don't say anything. Yeah. There's so much things people say. But
you could still say, I had a really great digital detox this Christmas. Here's how I did it. I did this, 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 and this. And my clients were looked after in this, 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 and this way. And then that makes you look good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just all about how you say things. And I think, like, there's so many things I see on social media, and I'll watch them and I can often relate to it. But then I'm thinking, oh God, I wouldn't say that if I was hiring a client.
Yeah.
Oh God,
yeah.
This isn't going to make them sound great. And that goes for other industries as well, where people say things totally. And I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, I'm never going to work with that person if that's how they think.
Yeah.
Because people do just take these 1 or 2 second stories or reels and they add their own context. They add their own interpretation. They don't come and drop into your DMs going, oh, what did you mean by that? Or what was the benefit of you doing that? Or how will that? They won't ask. They'll just make their interpretation and they scroll on.
Yeah. It's like, this is going to be a really random example, but if you were looking for like a Shopify expert or someone who is an expert on Thrivecart or something, and then they're all over threads going, oh, Shopify is so annoying, you're not going to hire them. You're going to hire someone who doesn't find it annoying.
Yeah, it's like when social media managers will often talk about how, social media changes all the time. They say it often, not all the time, but
in a negative way.
In a really negative way.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're meant to be taking that stress off business owners. You're meant to be, and I'm not saying, woohoo, yay, Mozilla just told us a new thing. This is amazing. Yeah. Just don't say anything. Or find a way that brings value and positions yourself in a positive way.
Yeah.
Don't just moan about it. Like, I get it. Like, we both get it. Like, it's hard. It's a hard job. There's a lot of things we all want to moan about, but maybe don't moan about it when your clients can see.
That is the fastest way to put off high quality, high budget leads is by making yourself look bad. So just think about that when you're creating content.
Yeah.
I think the final reason that you might not be attracting the kind of leads you want is because of the kind of clients you're taking on. And look, we've all been there. We've all taken on low budget clients.
Yes,
Laura and I
yes,
included.
yes.
But if you want to start attracting the higher budget clients, you've got to stop taking everybody on for a few reasons. Obviously, the more low budget clients you take on, the less time you have for your own marketing and for taking on a new client. You just don't have the time for that. But also, it means that if you're working with low budget clients, probably the content that you're putting out in terms of case studies and stuff like that probably doesn't speak to higher budget clients, right? So that then therefore leads to more low budget clients. So it's kind of like a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, cycle, yeah.
So, but that's not to say that you can't still help those people and still make money from those people that can't afford your monthly budgets. You need to work with them in a different way. If somebody's got £500 to spend with you and you're like, well, I want to charge £1,000 a month, they can probably still afford £1,000 strategy session, right? Because that would only be 2 months of their budget. So they can still afford to spend some money with you. They just can't afford it on a really long, ongoing basis. They could, if somebody has got a low budget and that you think, I don't want to work with this person on a long-term basis, but maybe I could work with him for a power hour or I could deliver an audit. It's those sorts of things. You just need to figure out what are your deal breakers in terms of your budget and in terms of, other things, and what can you offer them instead that will still help them and still put money in your bank.
Because I definitely, as a side note to this, the other downside of working with low budget clients is you end up having, like we've touched on, you end up working with a lot, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 even ball clients. And then you become burnt out and you stop marketing your own business, or you don't have enough time, or you can't think creatively because you haven't got that creative headspace. So your own marketing suffers. So then that cycle continues because you're not attracting better clients because your content, you're just putting content out for the sake of putting content out because it's like, oh shit, I'm a social media manager. I've just got to put something else. Oh, I'll just put this out and then I can forget about it again. It's that type of mentality.
Or it's worse than that. You just don't market your business. Full stop.
Well, yeah. And I think when you're thinking about taking on clients, if you've only got 2 or 3 great, good paying clients, and that leaves you a day a week to work on your own business, then that is the dream, rather than 10 clients and stress to the max, because there's just no way we can do it. How can we all think creatively and do a really good job to that many industries, especially if they're all different? There are all different industries. That must be like such a head fuck.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
I did just say that point was going to be the last one, but you saying that has just made me think of another one.
Go on.
Because it is the whole thing of you're not marketing your business. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but I rely on referrals. Why am I not getting 4-figure referrals? Well, it's because you're relying on referrals. You're not doing anything to kind of do that in a strategic way. And when you're relying on referrals, that person who is, referring you is referring you for whatever they already know about you. So if they're a past client, for example, a low paying one, guess what they're saying to their people? Oh, she's cheap.
Yeah, she's cheap. Or yeah, I only pay this.
Yeah,
that's happened to me in the past.
So that's not ideal. And even if they're not talking money and they're still referring you, that person, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go and look on your socials. And we know this because we've done research. We know that businesses will go and look on your socials to see, whether the person who's referred them has referred them to somebody else. Are you even still in business? If you're not posting on your socials, they probably think you're not. But if your content then doesn't speak to them in a 4-figure budget kind of way, they're coming to you in the mindset of you being like any other social media manager. So even if you are relying on referrals, you still need to position yourself properly to these kind of leads.
Hell yes.
There we go.
I feel like that was a little bit ranty from us today.
Us ranty? Don't know
all
what
said
you
with
mean,
love.
Laura. But there we go. If you were thinking, oh yeah, but I can't get 4-figure leads, believe us, you can. You just need to make some changes. Make sure that your website has got, different prices on it that speaks to those kind of people. Your messaging is attracting the right people. And, if you are getting referrals, make sure they know that you're not cheap.
Yeah.
There are all these things that you can do. So don't worry. All is not lost. 2025 is going to be your year.
Whoop, whoop.
If you do need more help with this, though, and you are thinking, well, hang on, there's all this 4-figure service stuff that they keep talking about. How do I actually do this? That's where the Social Media Managers Toolkit comes in. We're going to be helping you with all of that messaging that you need to attract those people. We're going to be helping you to take those 4-figure leads right through your whole conversion process so you can get them to sign on the dotted line, pay your invoice, start working with you, and deliver that premium service to them without it being stressful, without you feeling overwhelmed. And we're going to be there to support you for the whole 12 months so you can get all of this done. We'll make sure that the link for that is in the show notes. It's thetwolauras.com/toolkit. So go and find out all about that. We will be opening the doors in January. And yeah, we can't wait to get started.
Exciting times. We'll see you next week. Or we won't. We'll be back in your ears next week. And bye.
See you later.
Ta-ra!